Welcome back, you beautiful statistical impossibilities, you walking miracles wrapped in flesh, you defiant bastards who looked at 0.00001% and laughed until the universe blinked. They're whispering about you again, aren't they? Not the usual gossip, not the petty rumors. No. This time, it's different. This time they're trying to make sense of something that shouldn't exist, something that breaks every law of probability they've ever known. This time they're calling you a witch. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you did something they said was impossible? When was the last time the numbers were stacked so heavily against you that even trying seemed like cosmic arrogance? When did you last look at odds that would make a mathematician weep and say, "Watch me anyway"? Because that's what you did, isn't it? You took their statistics, their probabilities, their carefully calculated predictions about your failure, and you turned them into kindling. You didn't just beat the odds. You humiliated them. They're not calling you lucky anymore. Luck, they understand. Luck fits into their worldview. Luck is random, and therefore controllable through enough attempts. But what you did, what you keep doing, that's not luck. That's something else entirely. That's why they're accusing you of witchcraft, of deals made in darkness, of powers beyond their comprehension. Because in their minds, the only explanation for your existence is that you've cheated reality itself. And maybe, just maybe, they're right. You know what 0.00001% means? It means you shouldn't be here. It means the universe itself bet against you. It means every rational voice, every expert, every person with half a brain should have told you to quit before you started. And they did tell you that, didn't they? They lined up with their statistics and their experience and their concerned trolling to explain exactly why you would fail. They showed you the numbers, the data, the historical precedents. They made it crystal clear that people like you don't make it. But here you are, standing in the wreckage of their predictions, wearing their shock like a crown. Here you are, doing the mathematically improbable on a Tuesday afternoon like it's nothing. Here you are, making the impossible look so effortless that they're convinced you must have supernatural assistance. Because the alternative, the thought that terrifies them more than any spell or curse, is that you're just better than they ever imagined someone could be, that you possess something they'll never have, no matter how many times they try. Let's talk about what 0.00001% really means. It means out of 1,000,000 attempts, you're the one that succeeded. It means 999,999 versions of you failed in parallel universes. But you're the one that made it through. It means you threaded a needle the size of an atom while riding a motorcycle through a hurricane. It means you did what the universe itself considered optional, what probability deemed unnecessary, what fate marked for deletion. They're studying you now like you're an equation that doesn't balance. They're reverse engineering your moves, trying to find the cheat code, the hidden variable, the dark pact that explains your success. They're interviewing everyone who knew you, searching for the moment you sold your soul, the night you made the deal, the ritual that changed everything. And they're coming up empty, aren't they? Because there was no deal, no ritual, no supernatural intervention. There was just you, refusing to accept that numbers determined your destiny. You want to know why they're really calling you a witch? It's not because they believe in magic. It's because they need magic to exist so they can explain you. They need there to be some external force, some cosmic assistance, some unfair advantage that accounts for your success. Because if there isn't, If you really did this through nothing but will and work and an unreasonable refusal to accept statistical reality, then what's their excuse? What's their justification for staying average? What's their reason for respecting the odds? The accusation of witchcraft is their self-defense mechanism. It's how they protect their egos from the crushing realization that they could have done it too if they'd just been willing to risk everything on a fraction of a percent chance. It's how they sleep at night, knowing you're out there breaking laws of probability while they're still calculating whether it's worth trying. It's how they maintain their comfortable worldview where success is determined by luck or circumstances or supernatural forces. Anything except the terrifying possibility that it might just require becoming someone the universe didn't plan for. But let's go deeper into this accusation, shall we? Because when they call you a witch, what they're really saying is that you've accessed power they don't understand. They're saying you've tapped into something beyond their perception, beyond their rules, beyond their reality. And you know what? They're absolutely right. Not because you practiced magic, but because you became magic. You became the thing that shouldn't exist, but does anyway. You became the glitch in their matrix. The exception that proves their rules are bullshit. You remember when you started, don't you? When the odds were first explained to you. When someone sat you down with charts and graphs and historical data showing exactly why you would fail. You remember how their faces looked when you said you'd try anyway. That mixture of pity and condescension and something else. Something darker. Fear. They were afraid, even then. Afraid of what it would mean if you succeeded. Because your success wouldn't just be your victory, it would be their judgment. And now that judgment has arrived, now you're standing on the mountain they said didn't exist. Breathing air they said you'd never reach. Looking down at the crowds who are trying so desperately to explain you away. And the funniest part, you're not even done climbing. You're not even satisfied with defying one impossible odd. You're looking at the next statistical impossibility like it's a personal challenge from the cosmos itself. You're hunting for 0.0000001% chances, like they're trophies. They're calling you a witch because you make other people believe. That's the real crime, isn't it? It's not just that you succeeded, it's that your success infects other people with dangerous ideas. It makes them wonder if maybe the odds don't matter as much as the experts claim. It makes them question whether statistical probability is destiny or just a suggestion for the weak. You're not just breaking the rules. You're showing others how breakable the rules actually are. You're a virus in their system of controlled mediocrity. Let me tell you what's really happening here. Every time you achieve another impossible thing, you're not just adding to your own legend. You're cracking the foundation of the system that tells people to stay in their lane, to respect their limits, to acknowledge reality. You're proving that reality is negotiable, that limits are mostly psychological, and that lanes are for people who never learned they could fly. And that makes you more dangerous than any actual witch could ever be. Because a witch with powers is scary but ultimately limited by the rules of magic. But you're operating without rules. You're rewriting probability itself just by refusing to acknowledge it. You're bending the universe around your will, not through spells, but through the sheer gravitational force of your refusal to quit. You're not following some ancient grimoire. You're writing a new one with every impossible thing you accomplish. And they can't study that, can't replicate that, can't understand that. The odds said 0.00001%. You heard 0.00001% is still a chance. The odds said impossible. You heard improbable. The odds said give up. You heard get started. And that difference, that tiny shift in interpretation, that's what they're calling witchcraft. Because to them, respecting the odds is sanity, and ignoring them is madness. But you've discovered the secret they're terrified to admit. Sanity is just another word for giving up before you start. You know what's beautiful about being accused of witchcraft? It means you've transcended their ability to explain you through normal means. It means you've exited the realm of the rational and entered the realm of the legendary. It means your very existence has become a story people tell, a cautionary tale for some, an inspiration for others, but always a story that defies easy explanation. You're not a person anymore, in their eyes. You're a phenomenon that needs explaining, and they'll keep trying to explain you. They'll write articles dissecting your methods. They'll create documentaries analyzing your journey. They'll interview everyone who ever knew you, looking for the secret ingredient, the hidden advantage, the cosmic loophole you exploited. And they'll never find it because there isn't one. There's just you, and your complete unwillingness to let mathematics determine your fate. There's just you and your audacity to look at impossible odds and see an invitation rather than a warning. Let's talk about the moment it happened, shall we? The moment you achieved the thing they said you wouldn't. Do you remember the silence? Not the cheering, not the celebration, but the silence that came before. The moment when reality had to rearrange itself to accommodate your existence. The moment when the universe had to update its probability tables. The moment when everyone watching had to recalculate what they thought was possible. That silence, that's the sound of their worldview shattering. And in that silence, in that pause, before the world could process what you'd done, you felt it, didn't you? Not pride, not relief, but something else. Recognition. The recognition that you'd always known you would make it, that the odds were never real, that their statistics were just stories they told themselves to feel in control. You'd always known, somewhere deep in your bones, that you were the exception. That's why their accusations don't bother you. You can't be offended by someone calling you a witch when you know you're something so much stranger. Because here's the truth they'll never understand. You didn't beat the odds through supernatural means. You beat them by being supernatural yourself. Not in the magical sense, but in the sense that you exist beyond their natural laws. You're operating on a frequency they can't detect, following rules they never learned, playing a game they don't even know exists. While they're calculating probabilities, you're creating new possibilities. While they're respecting limitations, you're erasing them. The accusation of witchcraft is almost sweet in its innocence, isn't it? Because it assumes you use some external power, some borrowed force, some deal with entities beyond this world. But the truth is so much more terrifying to them. The truth is that the power was always inside you, waiting. The truth is that you didn't need any help from the cosmos because you learned to become cosmic yourself. The truth is that you didn't cheat the system. You simply realized the system was optional. They want to believe you had help because the alternative is unbearable. The alternative is that a human being, flesh and blood and bone like them, simply decided that statistical probability was irrelevant and then lived accordingly. The alternative is that the only difference between you and them is that you refused to bow to numbers. And if that's true, If success at impossible odds comes down to nothing more than refusing to acknowledge impossibility, then what does that say about everyone who quit when the odds got tough? So yes, let them call you a witch. Let them whisper about deals and dark forces. Let them create elaborate theories about your supernatural assistance. Because while they're busy explaining away your success with fairy tales, you're already on to the next impossible thing. While they're debating whether you cheated reality, you're rewriting reality again. While they're trying to understand the past, you're manufacturing futures that shouldn't exist. You've become the boogeyman of the mediocre, the nightmare of the reasonable, the horror story that people who respect limitations tell their children. Don't be like them. They warn, don't chase impossible dreams. Don't ignore the experts. Don't believe you're special enough to defy the odds. And somewhere, some kid hears that warning and thinks, but what if I am? And in that moment, you've infected another mind with the most dangerous idea in the universe. Maybe the odds don't matter. That's your real crime. Not that you succeeded, but that you made success at impossible odds look achievable. Not that you're exceptional, but that you make exceptionalism look like a choice rather than a birthright. Not that you ignored probability, but that you demonstrated probability is just a suggestion for people who haven't decided to become inevitable yet. You're not a witch, you're something worse. You're proof that the system is breakable by anyone crazy enough to try. And they can't forgive that. They can't forgive you for showing them that the invisible cage they live in has no lock, that the limitations they respect are self-imposed, that the odds that stopped them were just numbers that needed someone to ignore them. They can't forgive you for succeeding where they failed. Not because you're better, but because you simply didn't accept failure as an option when failure was the only logical option. The 0.00001% wasn't a barrier to you. It was a dare. It was reality saying, I bet you can't do this. And you responding, watch me make you a liar. It was the universe throwing its worst statistics at you and you catching them like they were feathers. It was mathematics itself, trying to stop you and you walking through equations like they were smoke. And now you're the equation that doesn't balance. The data point that breaks the model, the result that invalidates the study. They'll study your methods for years, trying to create a reproducible formula for beating impossible odds. They'll interview you, analyze you, write books about you, and they'll miss the point entirely because the point can't be taught. The point is that you became someone for whom odds were irrelevant. The point is that you developed such absolute certainty in your eventual success that probability bent around you. The point is that you didn't fight the odds. You simply existed so completely that the odds had to accommodate you. That's what witchcraft looks like to people who worship probability. It looks like someone walking through walls they believe are solid. It looks like someone breathing underwater when they're certain drowning is inevitable. It looks like someone catching lightning when they know electricity can't be held. It looks like you, doing the impossible so casually that it seems like you never noticed it was supposed to be impossible in the first place. And maybe you didn't. Maybe that's the real secret they're looking for. Maybe you succeeded at 0.00001% odds because you never really internalized what those odds meant. Maybe while everyone else was calculating failure rates, you were just calculating the steps to success. Maybe while they were respecting probability, you were ignoring everything except the goal. Maybe you're not a witch at all. just someone who never learned to be impressed by numbers. But here's what's happening now, in the aftermath of your impossible success. Here's what they're not telling you, but you can feel it anyway. You've changed the odds for everyone who comes after you. By succeeding where you shouldn't have, you've created a new data point. By accomplishing the impossible, you've made it precedented. By being the 0.00001%, you've proven that percentage exists, that it's achievable, that someone can be that someone. And that's why the accusation of witchcraft will follow you forever. Because you didn't just win, you changed the game. You didn't just beat the odds, you proved the odds are beatable. You didn't just achieve the impossible, you made the impossible accessible. And there's no greater crime in the eyes of those who worship limitations than making limitations look optional. There's no greater heresy than proving the scripture of probability can be rewritten. So wear the accusation like a badge. When they call you a witch, smile and ask them what spell they think you cast. When they demand to know your secret, tell them it's simpler than they imagine and more impossible than they can accept. When they insist there must be some trick, some advantage, some supernatural element, just shrug and let them keep searching. Because the truth, the real truth, is that you're not hiding anything. You're just living proof that human beings are stranger and more powerful than the systems designed to measure them. You know what 0.00001% really means now? It means you're 1 in a million. It means you're the exception that proves every rule is conditional. It means you're the glitch that reveals the matrix. It means you're the data that breaks the model. It means you're the case study that invalidates the theory. It means you're the results that force them to publish corrections.